All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2021, our first live stream for FX Evolution for this year, but not the last, that's for sure. Thank you very much for joining us on this non-farm Friday morning if you're in the US, and obviously evening and possibly afternoon, depending on where else you are in the world. Welcome, everybody. And today we're going to be talking about, of course, stock markets, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. We can't leave them out right now. Of course, things like silver, gold, commodities in general, what's happening with iron ore, going crazy, and so much more. So quick shout out to everyone that's joining us. We've got Anurag, good to have you here. Shlomi, Valdo, Dave, as always, great to have you. Hasagawa, I think. Johnny Bravo, always good to see you here. Good new year to you, Johnny. I hope you had a good time. Faye, Gareth, Eggsy, and more. So welcome everyone to the first stream of 2021. We'll be going through, as I mentioned, all those things and more. But what about these markets? Did anyone see Elon Musk, the richest man in the world as of today? Can you believe it? I didn't think that was going to happen. I think at the beginning of he wasn't even top 10 at the beginning of 2020. Not even top 10. And now he's suddenly number one in the world. So it just shows you the kind of asset bubbles that we potentially could be getting into here, just across a lot of different things. Let's have a look at this heat map here. So we've got 31,000 Dow to start today. 31,000 Dow, 3,800 S&P, off the highs a little bit here, 3,808. 13,000 almost for the Nasdaq. So that's really approaching that type of top level that we're talking about, that 13.2 kind of zone, 13.3 zone that we were talking about being potentially the peak here. And then, of course, big moves throughout the Nikkei and Euro stocks, etc. So some pretty big moves there. Let's just quickly click on this crypto one, though. 41,000 plus here for Bitcoin. And Ethereum smashed all of our hopes and dreams. It went past 800. And when it got past that 800, that magical zone, went to 1,000 in about 3 hours. So it just shows you what can happen with cryptocurrencies. Litecoin starting to have a move as well. If you remember back and you traded Litecoin years ago, that went as high as around $330, $350 plus dollars. So big moves across all the cryptocurrencies. We've got some stuff to talk about there as well throughout today's stream. Luke's very happy for Elon. Yep. Elon's, well, you can't say he's not a serial entrepreneur. Look how many companies he's started and had success with. So PayPal into Tesla, into SpaceX, pretty amazing stuff. Yan Liang says, good evening, Tom. ASX 200, please. Yeah, we'll have a look at that as well. Absolutely, we'll have a look at that and more. So yeah, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all of these types of coins going pretty well. Let's have a quick look at this Bitcoin chart here on the 1 hour. So I was trying to look through how you follow or how you actually get through these kind of periods of extreme moves. Can you follow the trend? Well, obviously the trend is your friend. If you're a short seller on Bitcoin, it's been pretty dangerous kind of period. We obviously hit the 40,000. It became that psychological number. It got slightly through it, sold off a little bit. And this is actually quite a lot. I mean, it sold off to 36,760 and then all the way back up to 41. So this is the type of thing that happens in these cryptocurrencies, though. I just want to start here because I've got some interesting research that's gone through all the years and what might happen next for this cryptocurrency. So we know that when it had that big run up in any pretty much year, 2017 to 2018, it had some very steep declines. Now remember, cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, generally goes between 20 and 30% decline in its pullbacks. Anything bigger than that is always a super blow-off event. So this was a very large move. This was a very large move. This was a pretty big flash. And then we obviously had the flash late last week. So we had that flash kind of on the weekend through to this week and what's been happening. Very, very common for Bitcoin to do that. Now, how do you follow this type of thing? Well, I've always said moving averages are one of your friends in this type of circumstance. So let's say you were somebody that came in and said, okay, well, I'm looking at 4 hour and I'm happy just to buy any 20 moving average. Even though, you know, it did come through more, maybe that was what your plan was. Maybe your plan was to buy the 50, etc. You have to pretty much follow these types of trends when they get aggressive by moving averages. It's one of the key things that we want to do. But I want to examine this chart. I just thought we've got to start with this because I'll probably even put it in tomorrow's video. And that is what happens around Lunar New Year to cryptocurrencies. So this is 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Okay, every single one of those years. take a look at these dates. A few weeks before Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year calendar, remember, there is a lot of people still trading this in Asia. A lot of people control the Bitcoins over there. Take a look at the declines that generally happen after that kind of second week of January. Second week, third week of January, when it was on the 8th of Feb. I'll remind you, 12th of February is this year's Lunar New Year. I really believe in this kind of one because it's happened so many times. It happens all the time. Then we have 28th of Jan, happened a little bit earlier. Notice here, this one happened later when it was the 8th of Feb. Where do we expect it to happen? Seems like it happens a couple of weeks out. Then it recovers somewhat. So it just has that massive dump, which it actually doesn't recover from until after the Chinese New Year. You can see it starts to recover after that period. So if anyone ever traded this one before, definitely let us know in the community. Always interested into that. But this is one of those things that's happened time and time again. And I'm always interested to discuss it with all of you guys, because this is something that I've just gone, wow, it's happened time and time again. I've definitely paid a lot of attention to it. I've traded it a few times. I've seen this kind of thing. You don't usually want to go in negative or against it too much, but it's pretty compelling evidence that around that kind of period from around the 8th of Jan into around the 16th of Jan, 18th of Jan, you generally have that pullback into the Chinese New Year. Seems quite common. Hopefully I've got you guys. Could someone just type in the chat just to make sure? It's first stream back, so hopefully we don't have any issues. Let me just quickly load it up. Just want to make sure it's all good. Let me know when you hear this. Just wanted to make sure it's going fine because it is the first stream we've done. I just noticed it got a little bit quieter there. But yeah, Chinese New Year, big thing. Lunar New Year, definitely something I would consider if I was trading cryptocurrencies right now because it's quite common. All good? Perfect. Perfect. Great to hear. So yeah, Bitcoin on the roller coaster up. Obviously, then comes risks. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's your criteria for investment? Like you're a trader, yeah? Or you're an investor. They're totally different. If you're a trader, you trade totally different. You don't care really the asset so much. You might hear some traders on YouTube say, I don't care what asset it is. I just care about the price action. I just care about the trend. I just care about those things. Fair enough. That's what traders do. You don't necessarily want to care about what it is. You just want to make sure that you always assess the risks and always assess the trend and always assess everything. But what I do is I look at the price action and then I try to marry that price action up with reoccurring events that happen. It gives me a confidence in my trade and it makes me know that if I'm following a trend into certain things, that it's more common or more likely to occur. And remember, being able to hold your trade is a massive success thing. I'm sure everyone's out there has had it, and this is maybe a 2021 thing, but for 2021, I know even for myself, I'm going to make sure that in every single trade, I believe that that trade is very, very solid, but I also believe in holding it to its entirety, holding it to what my profit target is, what my exact criteria are. And I'm always big on having that plan. If you have that plan, then basically you have the ability to really be successful. So I was checking out what a lot of these kind of websites are making right now as well about the pros and cons. So obviously there's a pro here, which is the demand for institutional buyers, maybe eyeing Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, etc., as a hedge against all things to do with the currencies. I think that's a fair point. Then we've got the US dollar decline in foreign exchange markets. I would say though that this isn't really in there just yet. They're weighing the idea of doing it, but as long as cryptocurrency has these incredible movements each way, it's going to be harder for them to generally get into it, just within risk parameters, etc. Then you've got, of course, US dollar decline, definitely a reason why cryptocurrencies are going up. Retail purchases, people talking about these stimulus checks. What have we got coming up? Possibly $2,000 stimulus checks in the US. Probably further stimulus across the world as well, through to everything in 2021. And then, of course, all of these negatives, which is, of course, bubbles, etc. So just remember, whenever you think something's in a bubble, it always goes further than what you expect. I was reading some really great words the other day about bubbles, and that's something that just always rings true to me. Whenever I think something's in a bubble, it will usually go another 100% on top of that, at least. And then it becomes the real bubble. And then it becomes the real bubble. All right, let's get into some analysis anyway. So Bitcoin for now, I think it's very, very difficult to say where is this going to go. Every $5,000 increment, if you line them up, you would basically have your points where you'd want to target towards, okay, yeah, this is a point where if you had a plan to get out or you had a plan to maybe chop some of your profits off or something like that, these are the kind of areas you would do so. Why is that? Because you know that the market is respecting these $5,000 levels. There's the 30,000, there's the 35, there's the 40, 45 question. Maybe it goes up there just like it did last time. Maybe it has that last kind of boom, bullish day, hits the 45. Maybe then it begins to sell. But I'm definitely very wary of that Chinese New Year kind of stuff going on right now. All right, well, the SPX, let's go into the market, talk about what's going on there. So we're about to open today, potentially, at 38.08, somewhere around there. 38.10 maybe on the S&P. Let's have a look at the futures. 38.18 right now. Okay, so 38.18. Let's say we hit 38.18. We're basically hitting the top of the SPX. So this is the SPX, the real market trend line. I think it's fair to draw this trend line. You have a peak. You have another peak. It's fair to think that this is the peak. Now, you'll notice the other day I was drawing a trend line that was on the futures market. And you'll also notice that that trend line didn't work out as well. And why is that? Because the real market trend lines are always going to be where you want to draw them. If you're going to draw trend lines, try not to draw them on the futures. I obviously was drawing that more for an effect reason. But when you're doing it, draw them on these particular levels. So the SPX absolutely hitting resistance straight off the bat today. In fact, right on critical. Right on critical for this trend line. That's something I'm definitely looking at. Other things that I'm looking at, obviously the 20 moving average here on the daily as support. As this becomes more and more tight and more trapped, eventually something will break. And that's going to be my catalyst to say, okay, we're going further long or we're going further short. Say we break through the top of this trend line. I think that's pretty significant. We break through here. All of a sudden, we're looking at a retest potentially of the trend line up to 3,900, possibly even up to 4,000 before we see a decent correction. That's the type of thing that gets opened when you break above here. If you reject here, obviously it's still not going to short off yet, but this 20 moving average is starting to become very compelling for a close underneath that as being the bearish side. And remember, whenever you're doing TA, in between these zones, I have no idea what's going to go on. I can't tell you I do because I wouldn't know statistically what's going to go on. It's when it breaks past these key critical levels that's when it helps us, guys. That's when we learn more about these types of things. Warwick says he's taken a ride on the Bitcoin gravy train. Warwick, I've seen you getting dangerous over there, man. Getting dangerous, Warwick. Warwick was a pretty big gold trader, and then he's moved over to the cryptocurrencies, and he's probably getting a bit hungry, I think, for those great percentages. But we will move on to gold, silver a little bit later in the stream. So for the SPX, I quite like it that way. Someone asked me before, what do you think about the Nasdaq as well? Well, the Nasdaq is an interesting one. We've got a new break high. Here's the futures. We've talked about this kind of 13,300. We can see the line was drawn here. The line was drawn again here. This is coming off the bigger weekly kind of channel break. When we got through that body close, that was the significant move that pushed the market up. Very nice bullish candle here coming into today's non-farm. And obviously a lot of it does depend on possibly this figure. And eventually we will have a point where in 2021, one thing I can assure you is that we will have a good correction. The reason why we're going to have a good correction at some point is because what's going to happen is going to see these vaccines roll out. Everything's going to look great. And then people will come back to reality and say, whoa, what's happening? Well, yeah, okay, we got the vaccine, but we got problems in some of these numbers. In some sector, I don't know which one it'll be. That will be a thing. You watch it. It'll happen when everything looks good. We said in 2020 that people were scared about the first couple of thousands of infections. And then all of a sudden it became hundreds of thousands and millions, and the market just went ballistic off all of the Fed's money. That's the thing that happens. It always is in plain sight, but people don't realize, oh, that's the thing that's going to be written about. And I noticed today, the amount of articles saying, hey, we should be long in the market. Hey, we should be doing this. We should be definitely getting in. All of these kind of articles are coming through basically saying it's a great time to be bullish on the stock market. It's usually when the mass media says that, it start to say, okay, well, we should be a bit more cautious about what we're being in. Are we long right now? Yeah, of course. The price action is telling us that way. But yeah, 2021, there certainly will be some kind of, when you actually see reality, the reality will be the problem. Johnny Bravo says, wish there was a leveraged ETF of Bitcoin. So I'm surprised, actually, Johnny. I mean, there is, in America, surely you guys have access to CFDs for Bitcoin, which is effectively leveraged Bitcoin. RV says, I believe many have their limits at 49K for BTC, but I'm heading for 120, 130. We'll see. Well, RV, I mean, potentially the longer term, that's absolutely what could happen. Let's give this to the community. Let's get everyone's predictions. Next 12 months, Bitcoin price. Give it to me now. I want to see what the community thinks about Bitcoin. Put it in the chat right now. What do you guys think Bitcoin's going to be this time next year? Basically January. So let's go all of 2021. What do you think Christmas this year is going to be Bitcoin price? I would love to know. Good to see you here, Siddharth, as well. This is another question, actually. Mikhail says this, can you please review plug and for a possible pullback for the filler gaps? So a lot of people ask me about gap fills. I assume someone must have made videos about them. And they said, oh, do gap fills happen all the time? Well, I think the answer is no. If you look at gap fill percentages, it's not like a thing that just happens. So here you've got a gap. I guess you would say, okay, it sold off and then it filled that gap. Okay, that's a fair gap fill if you want to go with that. However, gap fills aren't like a statistical kind of thing, as in like you can't say, oh yes, every time the gap will fill or anything like that. It's not percentage high enough. Here's a gap, did it fill? It didn't fill properly. And if you take the gap fill every time, it's just not going to work out. Sometimes it'll gap up, especially gaps up. They have a tendency to continue running. Remember, it's about the news and about what's going on. You have to look at more than just the gap if you want to take your TA to the next level. Don't go with, oh, I'm going to interpret what this news means, but definitely consider, okay, well, if a company just booms, let's say it's Tesla gaps up and it breaks a resistance at the same time. Don't bet that thing's coming back down. It's Tesla. It just keeps going. It's a rocket ship to the moon. All right, we've got some returns coming in here. So people say, all right, looks like 50, 60, 80, same price, Infinity Beyond says. Cedric's got 148K, so you're the winner. Oh, wait, no. Taiwan has 160,000 for Bitcoin. Siddharth says 100K because Kathy Wood said so. 50K then bust from Warwick, followed by a run up. And Jute just went crazy and went 500,000. So, yeah, absolutely. I'll have a quick look at this plug and then we'll just go in. I just want to have a look at the gaps. So what I do, okay, this is the best thing I can tell you about learning where the gaps are going to fill. Use the past history of where the gaps filled on that particular instrument. Seems simple, but no one does it that way. They just go, oh, gaps fill all the time, percentage across all instruments. It's just not true. It just cannot be true. Here we have this particular plug power Nasdaq stock thing. Basically, it's gapped, then it's continued moving up, and you can see a gap continue moving up. So it's got a tendency on filling gaps. Now, you'll always see, because it's been an uptrend, that it has a tendency to fill downward gaps. But the up gaps aren't getting filled backwards. It filled after, but that's just what I would call a standard pullback. Would I be trading because there's a gap and saying, oh, yes, it'll come back down to this level? Hell no. No way would I be doing that. But what a great level here to buy it. Resistance, support. That's multiple ticks. That's awesome. You got 20 moving averages, finding support and being purchased off. 1, 2, 3, specifically 1 and 2. What happens if it comes down to the 20 after this movement up? Probably find support and bounces. That's cool. That's the way I do it. But always look back through the data of the instrument. Treat each instrument as its own thing. You'll hear most traders will say, hey, I only trade one stock. I only trade 5 stocks. A popular one in Australia to trade, FMG. You'll see why when you look at that chart. But FMG, very popular stock. Always has been. Been popular for decades plus. Very huge volume on it. Traded, understand the instrument, understand the market, and you can potentially become very good at it. So you can look at whether it gap fills, etc. So that's my argument there for gaps. Let's now have a look at gold and look at silver. So gold's had a bit of a dive recently. It's come back down under 1900. So it's definitely under what we would expect the bounce zone to be. Let's have a look at this on a 4-hour and then a 1-hour. It's a little bit disappointing in some ways. So this is absolutely an area that you would have been buying. Why is that? We had resistance, resistance, resistance. That is the sweet triple resistance. What a great buy zone. And there was buying. The problem now is that, of course, stops got taken out. And that's going to happen sometimes, yeah? So you got 2 choices in with these kind of solutions. If you want to buy here long, you either place your stop loss just underneath that because you know you're getting kind of like more of a scalp day trade opportunity. And if you do get like a lightning bolt movement up, specifically on a 4-hour greater number, we've talked about the lightning bolt all the time, we crack that 1920 resistance, which you knew was a problem, and get through it, then you're going to make lots and lots of money. It's going to be a very, very good trade. Now, if you want to go with even more conservative option, is you buy it here and you place your stop below the last swing. So either here or here. That gives you more of the investment, short to medium term kind of hold position. So am I bearish on gold here? Not really. I think there is money going out of gold, and you're seeing that money going into cryptos right now. A lot of people are probably taking leverage positions off, but all of this market structure here makes sense. We've got a 20 and a 50 exponential moving average on the daily, our 2 favorite moving averages. We've got a great little zone here, and we have a very, very nice amount of bodies around this zone. So we'd love to see tomorrow, but we know that risk is getting taken off because what have we got? We've got non-farm payrolls in literally 6 minutes. I believe it's 6 minutes. Or am I wrong? No, 12:30. So we've got it in an hour and 6 minutes. Let me just quickly make sure I've got this right time. No, 6 minutes. Let me get rid of this. What is this? Save settings. Get that non-farm payrolls up. You want to always make sure it's set to your time frame. Okay, 12:30. So hour and 6 minutes, we'll get these non-farm payrolls. But we've got basically gold coming out, and it's going to be incredibly volatile. This is the pair that generally is incredibly volatile into non-farm. So you've got money coming out of here and probably going into Bitcoin and other currencies right now. So I quite like this level on gold. I think it's strong at support, and it always does this. You always get basically a pull into a strong level of support or resistance ahead of big news. I would have preferred it just bounced here. I really would have. If you go down to a 1 hour, this is why I don't like the 1 hour chart so much, you'll notice it actually did lightning bolt. We had a pickup, we had a pullback, new trough was formed, and a higher peak confirmation came through. This actually is a buy signal most of the time. It's a real shame it didn't work out, but this is actually something that I would statistically take. I'd buy down here. I'd like the price action. These wicks, how good are these wicks, guys? Wick rejection, little hammers, new high, put your stop loss down here, bang it up, take the kind of risk of getting the trade in, and obviously your target here would have been ideally 1940. But this will work out a huge percentage of the time. And I mean, if you took that 10 out of 10 times, you'll win 7 of them. And the why? Because it's such a common thing. You got a 1, 2, 3, you got a beautiful support resistance. It just is a great area. Quite a few people with 100,000 plus for Bitcoin. That's very interesting. So a lot of people very bullish, but it makes sense. I mean, look at the market. I mean, we doubled in 3 weeks. So gold, still pretty bullish on that. Silver, what a beautiful daily buy zone here. Hit the 20 for the first time, our favorite moving average on our favorite time frame, being the daily. Love the daily 20. Look at that. Love the daily, love the daily. Didn't love it when it broke under, but that's the nature. When it breaks under it, that's bad. So this looks good. Looks really good. I like what's happening with silver. Again, this was the perfect intraday buy zone. You get a 2660, multiple resistances. I talked about this on the channel. That's a great buy zone. If it had cracked to high above here, you better beware. This would have absolutely dominated this high. It would have gone like this. It would have gone bang, bang, and then just as soon as it made that new high, it would have just busted 28. It always will. That's the nature of getting that kind of momentum, that slingshot V shape. So if you're ever looking for something, the higher the time frame, 4 hour and above, 8 hour, 6 hour, whatever, when you get that lightning bolt action off good levels like this, it's a sweet kind of thing. Very, very nice. I just got a text message from a mate. He goes, the bit noodle, it's unstoppable. I wonder what's going to happen with this. It's going wild, man. So there you go. he's probably a bit salty. Maybe sold a bit of the old bit noodle sometime. But yeah, bit noodle, as we like to call it here, is I think it's pretty cool that it's come into such a great trading asset. But these percentages, this is the nature of the cryptocurrency. So I like silver. I like where it is. I like most things about it. Dollar index, another one. Very critical point here coming into the non-farm payrolls. Check out this resistance. We've got one of our favorite little things going on as well. And it failed to do it. Oh, yeah, I love that. I love a good time frame, shooting star, rejection pin bar candle. And what I like about that is if it happens at a key level of resistance, if we got a body close here, unfortunately we didn't, but if we did, oh yeah, you're looking at generally bullish movement. Look at that. It's a massive fake out, evil candle. Take advantage of all of us at 90. I hate that so much, but I love that setup. It's one of my favorite setups. Monster resistance or support. We get a close above. It's just beautiful. Thanks everybody as well for coming out. We've already got 321 viewers for our first stream. And I haven't even made that many videos this week. I know I've been slack the last 3 weeks, guys, but I had to take a bit of time off. But coming up pretty much next week, we'll be going three or so videos. And then after that, back into full momentum of the videos for this year. I've got new emotes coming as well for the members of the community. Don't worry. There's new emotes, custom. We've got new music. We've got new everything. New slideshows. A lot of new stuff for 2021. All right, so some questions here from the community. We've got here, Valdo says, the real question is, where is BTC going to go at the pullback? About 30%, Valdo, 20 to 30% usually. Now, if it goes further than that, what will happen is it'll bounce off a 20 to 30% drop. It'll go a 61.8 of the drop to a 78.6. And if it busts past, if it can't make a new high after that, that's when you know it's in blow off. And then it will have a significant decline. If it just goes like 20, 30% and then goes up again and meets the high, then obviously that's not the real top blow off. But about 20 to 30% generally. I use the 20 EMA, 50 EMA, and 200 SMA. Remember, you want to use the EMAs on the smaller moving averages more so, and the slow one is because it's just more smooth. 200 takes ages as well. Yeah, so dollar index right at that perfect resistance just before the news that's going to come out. So yeah, unemployment change. Let's have a look here. I wonder whether they're going to get enough. 60K, 240K. So basically 245, they're expecting 60,000 job growth, it looks like here. Will they get that forecast? Let's have a look at the forecast so far. Not that amazing, is it? Not the best. So we'll have to see what happens there. I want to just quickly talk about Tesla. I just wanted to put this in perspective. Here's a Tesla monthly. Obviously in a great, very bullish trend here on the monthly. No, this is kind of the big candle you would have expected generally that would have caused a blow off. These types of huge last candles are the ones, and obviously that's what we happened previously last year. Go down to a weekly. We still don't even have any touches here. Go to a daily. Can we find some kind of reoccurring thing that's going on with Tesla right now? Not really. I would say it's even smaller time frames, probably going into things like an 8 hour or a 6 hour or 4 hour, where we're saying, okay, maybe the 20 moving average is the only thing that's holding the buy zones up. I think for Tesla, you would have to see it at least close. Notice how here, it barely has closed below the 20. So there's probably a moving average here around the 6-hour time frame that you'd be following up. Remember, each instrument's a little bit different. This is on a very steep trajectory right now. If you were trading at intraday, you'd have to be down in the 1 hour, 15 minutes and just trading whatever moving average is being touched the most. Look for the pattern. Look for the pattern of the purchases, the 1, the 2 in this market. It's all you can do. The 1, the 2, and just take it long into psychological numbers. It's really all you can do. We've got a 848 pre-market here. That's crazy. Let's go back over to some questions. Remember, keep asking me questions. It's the first live stream of the year. I'm more than happy to answer as many as possible. MDA99 DAS says, FX Evolution, why do some people use fib level EMA? Not really sure why they do that. Are you talking about just, yeah, I don't use that. I wouldn't suggest it. Fibs are dangerous in their own rates. I think I had an email sent to me the other day, and I do apologize. I don't think I sent back to that one. It was just about some stuff, and I wanted to show it on the live stream. And it was unfortunately a fib that was drawn incorrectly. And I think this is the problem that people have with fibs. When you're drawing fibs, and especially drawing fib retracements, so if you have like up to here, down to here, you're drawing wick to wick generally is the best way. I usually go with wick to wick. Some people go body to body. I just go wick to wick, unless the wick is some outlandish kind of craziness. And remember, you're looking to draw from the top down to the bottom for a retracement in that direction. So if you're looking at maybe shorting this particular stock and you were looking at fib pullbacks here, that's what you would be doing. Now, if you're going the other way, you're obviously drawing it again wick for wick in the direction of the pullback, etc., whatever you want to do. So if you're just saying, okay, I think it's going to pull back off this last run, and let's say we got this on a 4 hour, and we said, okay, from bottom here to up here is what we're looking at doing, then we'll draw a fib from the bottom to the top. That will then give us our retracement levels. Now, if you want to extend it out, you can do so. The way you would extend it is you would use the opposite direction. So you basically draw it like this, and then you would extend it out, and you'll notice here, these are the fib extensions that you're looking for. Now, that's how I do it, wick to wick, pullbacks, everything like that. Do not draw fibs wrong. If you draw fibs wrong, if it doesn't look clean to you, just don't use it, because you need a fib to be correct. This is obviously the last move up. On a daily, it just looks vertical. That's the clear pullback that happened. So it's a very easy fib to draw. Bit of a tip there. Some other questions coming in here as well. When is gold going to break up? Tatus, it depends a lot on today's non-farm level. Non-farm is going to be pretty key to pushing gold, to pushing the dollar. I mean, obviously, if the dollar index keeps pressuring this high resistance, that's going to put pressure on gold to the downside. I feel like silver's holding a bit better than gold right now. Like, obviously, it's come off a lot, but it's really trying because of the demand. At the same time, you know, Bitcoin's trumping a lot of these. Canal says, hey, Tom, can you look at ICLN sometime? It's a great renewable energy ETF that's on fire. I'll put it on the chart while we answer some other ones just so people can see it. Certainly is on fire. It's on spaz fire. Again, this is a stock where you have to, pretty much what you're doing is you're trying to find a moving average, some kind of synergy with a certain level. Usually it's going to be a 20 or a 50, where you can see here there's some 50 buying off the 4 hour, but it hasn't, it's just gone more steep trajectory. This one here is very tough to get into it without just, you know, basically biding your time. If you're trying to trade it up, I mean, I'd probably just be following it with a moving average as my trail. I'd trail stop this kind of thing with a moving average. And the reason I would, I'd basically say, okay, well, where's the deepest pullback throughout this whole run up? It's never hit the 50 on the daily, yeah? So you're still behind by quite a lot, 33. But you know when this eventually blows off, it may blow off hard. So if you're following this, you could follow this theoretically with the 50 for a very long time. And that'll keep you in to maybe your promised land of 50 or whatever you want. But that's a very, very crazy stock. That's cool, though. But right now, some great last days. Therese said, I missed out on Tesla so far. I want to get in, but I don't know if I should just buy now or wait for a pullback. Oh, you probably have to buy a dip now, Therese. But I mean, the thing is, there will be a dip at some point. Tesla's the kind of stock that'll dump 20%, and then obviously it will usually have a recovery. But there will be an opportunity for 20%. The one thing right now is everyone's bullish on it. We had that Democratic sweep. Basically now everyone's like, "Whoa, yeah, the Democrats going to give lots of money to everyone. It's all good." So it's going to be hard to purchase in right now. Johnny says lots of people lost their benefits a couple of weeks ago. Now they are extended. It's my bet the numbers are worse than expected. Okay, good one there, Johnny. Thanks for that question. Use the EMA rather than the MA because you want the faster speed on the smaller time frames. You want it to be more relevant. Remember, EMA is more relevant to the last couple of periods. It puts more weight on those. Remember, we are in a fast market. We're in a market that's moving very quickly. You need more weight on those last candles. You don't use MACD. Why not? I use MACD all the time. But I use a different type of MACD. So I use MT4 MACD. I just prefer it. I prefer the visualization of it. I use it more for divergence. So basically, if I'm looking at two highs or two peaks, basically I'll use MT4 MACD. Let's see, what have I got an example? There's plenty of examples over time of double tops, but it's very, very good for that kind of thing. Specifically good in currencies as well, if you're looking for currencies. Like if you basically... Oh, that's not going to come up. Yeah, if you're looking for MACD divergences and stuff like that, it can be very good for identifying the humps in between here. You can see the signal line, etc. Here's maybe a double top. There's your signal to maybe go short when it gets through the support, and you take it short. I particularly like those rejections as well. I don't know if I've ever shown the channel this. I got to show you guys this. It's just too cool. All right, I'm going to show you about something about stop hunts. I talked to the private community a little bit about this, and I wrote it up for everyone. But this is the classic currency stop hunt. You got to listen to this one if you're not. If you got to pay attention right now, guys. This is very important stuff. So basically here we have classic kind of double resistance, clearly at some form of resistance after starting to fail. Now, you see how it comes and it creates a new low and then it tests the zone. Now, what this type of candle is here is it's always a candle to take out break-even stop losses or to take out sells that have come through, usually with another candle. Notice here, we have a very interesting bar. We've got a shooting star bar. Some people call it a pin bar, whatever. This particular one, let's say it entered here. What would happen is if we're thinking, yes, it's all good. We're going to take this short. Everything's looking good. And it comes out, hits the stop loss, and we get taken out. That sucks. All the sellers through here get taken out as well. When you see a very strong rejection coming off this, if you actually draw a fib through this, it'll generally go to a 78.6, or at least a 61.8 to 78.6 fib. Let's have a look where it goes to. I have no idea. Let's have a look where it goes to. Okay, not... Oh, I was almost right, guys. That is a guess, too. I'm pretty happy with that one. Not bad. All right, you know it's real when you do that on the fly. So 78.6 fib. Notice how it comes straight up to it. Knocks out the 61.8. Takes it. The key here is, though, the strong rejection level. When that happens and you get the new low, oh, yeah. Oh, it's good. It is one of my favorite setups of all time. I love that setup in currency. So that is the double top into the nasty stop hunt. Often happens beginning of a market session or around a news event. Usually crappy news event like a CPI or some half irrelevant PMI or something. Takes out the stop, hits that 78.6 or just above, dumps off, creates the shooting star or the full rejection. The key here is the double, that flatlining rejection. That shows momentum of the bears are really in control here. The new low, I don't care about the close under that. I don't care about anything. I just want the wick and I just go bang. Yeah, I love that trade. Notice how I kind of knew that would be a 78.6. Like, obviously you're going to know anyway once you look at enough charts. It's not that hard to know that it's pulling back. Because all this is a 78.6 percentage pullback effectively as a fib. But very, very cool. But yeah, in answer to the question, do I use MACD? Yeah, I do. I use it all the time. I just don't go to it first. I know what it's going to be. Every time you've got kind of two peaks and you've got that trough in between, you're always going to have divergence. You're just always going to have it. Might as well give a shout out if you're new here and you haven't subscribed. Definitely consider doing so. And of course, if you're enjoying the stream, give us a thumbs up. It certainly does help us to get that momentum into 2021. Brian, I think, says, "Hi Tom, happy that you are back. Request, can you have a look at Baba?" I will, Brian. This shows you a risk that obviously many people don't think about when they first get into investment. So this is really a political risk. Obviously, the government here is what's punishing Baba. Is it at support? Yeah, it's at support. It's at really good support. You know there's huge buying pressure around this 220, 210 level. There's even more buying pressure at 200 flat. So all of these levels are good, but this is the problem this is obviously government controlled right now. This is the government punishing it. Now you could go and draw trend lines through the bottom as well. You could say, okay, well, there's my trend line through the bottom. If it comes down to this 200 level, it's going to hit my trend line through the last two trough sell-offs. That's good. Generally, I like to look as well at the sell-offs and see how deep they've been. Like if we have similar kind of sell-off lengths, that one's obviously longer and this one's huge. So this one's more like possibly that initial one. Take that this is a logarithmic scale. So obviously it's already met that. I like the level on Baba. I think a lot of things make sense here. There is a risk though of the government intervention in these stocks. Kunal says, "I just feel that the Chinese stocks are sketchy due to the way they are set up. All of them are." Yeah, look, it's a problem. A lot of the time I invest into the Chinese market, I love some of the companies there. Hey, Tencent's been pretty good. It's been all right. But the problem with it is that, again, you have that risk. There's this inherent risk. When they get too big, they get punished by sometimes the governments or politics. It might actually happen to Apple, Facebook, Google, and everything like that. Now the Democrats have got the sweep. I wouldn't be surprised to see antitrust through all of them over the next couple of years. I still hold them all, but yeah, that's something that I'm seriously considering as a potential risk in the future. Splits, etc., all those types of problems. So I like Baba exactly where it is. We go down to a daily, do some TA here. What's going to convince me to go up? Well, the problem is there's always going to be a risk on it, but you're looking at basically a break of this new high. So what you'd like to see is you'd like to see bullish momentum, get through this 20, which has been holding it back. The 20 and the 50 have been holding it back. And I want to see it poke its head up here. And of course, when it clears this previous triple support, that's when you know the bulls are back in control. So sometimes it pays, maybe you don't get the lowest price, but you get the price when the bulls get back in control, which is around here. And we saw that with Berkshire, if you looked at my analysis last year, Berkshire Hathaway. I like this, and I like the levels. It all makes a lot of sense. Warwick says, "I think when you learn not to give it back, that is winning." Well, that comes partly with risk analysis, Warwick, doesn't it? How much risk do I have to take to get this success? If I buy Bitcoin at 41K, what's my theoretical downside? Well, obviously it could be my stop loss, or it could be $10,000 or $15,000. What's my upside? You have to think risk reward all the time. Risk reward is what every big fund manager, that's all they care about. How much risk do I have to take to make the reward? Now we had a couple of requests for this FMG stock, so I'll put it in quickly just to show you. So that's Fortescue in Australia. For Australian viewers, I know they'll be interested. We will quickly look at the ASX 200 as well, just for Australian viewers before, because I know that I don't look at it enough on the channel for you guys. But FMG is awesome. Look at it go. Iron ore stock here, very big moves in. What a great start of November into December period. I mean, we went all the way from 18. We're now trading at 25. So I think this stock's starting to get pretty wild, pretty high up there. I think hitting 25 also was a pretty strong resistance for it. For me, FMG pullbacks have always gone to this 50 weekly. So you can see here, you got the August, you got the May. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a pullback back into the 18 and then a bigger take up. I'm long, but I'm not short. But I do think that it's coming to a decent pullback going to happen through iron ore stocks. Iron ore stocks just went too fast, too quick for my liking. They just don't usually do that and hold it. But on the smaller time frames, you want to jump in there. If you're trading it, all about that 24 hour. Look at this. I noticed this today. I've noticed this recently. 24 4 hour. Yeah, very nice. See how I break it down? Depends on your plan. If your plan's trading it, 20, it's the 4 hour for the 20. If your plan is investing in it though, I look for that nice deep pullback, because that does happen on these stocks. So 11:47 here. We'll go to the ASX 200 quickly, just for Australians. Obviously, keep your requests coming through and things that you want to look at and stuff. Try to keep it to big companies whenever possible, just so everyone in the community has a little bit more interest in it. ASX 200 just holding this 1 hour 20 at the moment. Starting to kind of, I mean, it's just following realistically the US market. We're trapped in a key zone here. We've got this 65, kind of 60-50 zone, if you look at the real market. And then on top of that, we've got these highs that have just been formed. So I'd say we're basically getting into a range channel here. Things are looking bullish, but again, until we break past this previous high, we're not fully fledged. I would say that if we do though, we go the distance. And what that means is we're basically going to crack another couple of 100 points. Notice it stops just under 7,000. So basically the ASX 200 could become incredibly bullish, go towards the 7,000. Little thing here as well, if you ever look at the XJO, just to show bubbles in other kind of forms of markets. Let's see if we've got enough data here. Oh yeah, we got the data. Check out this bubble that happened 2003. This is of course our own Australian bubble here, where the country I'm from, to 2007. That is how crazy a bubble can go in not tech, but iron ore companies and oil. Look at that. Absolutely ridiculous. And you can tell it's ridiculous because look how our market never properly recovered from the GFC. Our market sucked. Australian market sucked. And that's because by the time it got up here, the amount of companies that were crap, that were in the top 200, there was probably 50 of them that you've never seen again. There were so many little iron ore companies and miners that were in there that all got kicked out and had to be replaced by something. So this is a very similar event to what happened in the tech boom and tech bust, of course, of the tech bubble in the US. But it's in iron ore stocks. Same thing happened in Chinese stocks as well, only a few years back. And I think the same thing's happening in America. We're going to go potentially into a hyper bubble. Who knows? We could be in the roaring 20s of 2020. So it's hard not to be long right now. I wonder if you guys agree with that. Keith says, do you trade either ETH or BTC? I've been more of an ETH fan. Been more of an Ethereum fan. But now I'd be more of a BTC fan after Ethereum's big move. We were pretty bullish on the channel about Ethereum. We obviously had those $800 kind of targets. Guess we'll write about that. We'll call in that about $400. That being said, when it got through 800, that's why you leave some on, yeah? Because it was 1,000 about 3 hours later. What's the best way to learn about your fib levels and divergence? Look, Hugh, I'd have to say our course, man. Of course, our course. We teach you the right way to do fib, the right way to do MACD, the right way to do divergences. Absolutely, bro. But that being said, you know, there's some pretty good stuff online. Things though, fib, the way we treat fib is completely different though. The way we really break down fib levels. There's a few guys from the community. I'm sure they can attest to this. If you're in there, definitely let him know. But basically, yeah, the way we break down Fibonacci is totally different to anything I've ever seen. But it makes sense, and that's important. It has to make sense. Is that a head and shoulders I see on Barber? Let me just quickly go back there. What time frame, man, are you looking at, Johnny? Thanks for all these questions as well. If I'm missing yours, I do apologize, but I'm just trying to get through as many as we can. If you're talking about this bit here, yes, it was, but it's already completed. You're talking about basically the angle that came in through this, the break, and then of course that distance pretty much pushes into where we are now. I'll tell you what, if you're a risky person, Barber could be some decent percentages here. Remember, we're about to hit another peak period. Isn't like Chinese New Year? Actually, how does this stock go with Chinese New Year? Where is it? Where are we? How does it go with that? So December into Jan, ran up. Okay, what happened the next year? This is some rough stats here. So it had a very nice run, Jan, Feb. Where are we? Go over here. Jan was horrible. but there was a big crash across all of China stocks through that time, and then of course we had the run up. I don't know. I'd have to do some more research, but yeah, that's absolutely correct there. So let's go around the markets here. We're at 11:51. Let's load up our futures. If you're not using FinViz already, it's a great free resource. I want to bring on this. I want to bring this chart on. This is cool. This is our CoinFin. Check out this, guys. Check out this. This is the 1 year performance of growth momentum small cap and then value and high dividend yield stocks. Look at high dividend yield stocks. Oh my goodness, that's bad. Negative 12.4%. The Warren Buffett's out there, the value style, negative 11%. Now, I'll let you know this. In a true recovery of the economy, generally the value stocks will outperform the growth stocks for a 3 to 6 month period. Is it time to almost start looking at the value side? I know people have already started looking at it in the last couple of days, but yeah, this is very interesting to see here. Look at the growth, 14.6%. Small cap growth, the most crazy percentage gains. And IPOs sitting at a huge gain. Go to the 3 year chart, you'll see here mid caps, all of those not doing well either. Large cap growth has been really where it's all about. Small cap growth. But specifically value, terrible. Terrible investment for the last couple of years. Buyback stocks also not doing so well. So it's very interesting. Thought that was worthwhile pulling out. If you go to the 1 year kind of charts as well, obviously the value, the XLE is just hitting a new kind of peak here. Someone mentioned before, energy is really having its kind of second coming. I've been bullish on energy ever since down here. People know that I was incredibly bullish coming into the election. I'm bullish out of the election on this. I think it's probably one of the better performing sectors. I'm incredibly bullish on cybersecurity too. Hey, cybersecurity. What do you guys think about this one? Do you think cybersecurity is going to make a lot of money in the next decade? I'd be interested to know if you guys agree with me. Cybersecurity is something I've looked at I thought it was pretty underpriced about a month and a half ago, and it's definitely becoming a little bit more fairly priced now, but I still think it's unders in some areas. So we went through those stocks. Obviously, Tesla looking at 852. Few people agreeing with me there. Let's load up a couple of these charts. We'll load up a 6 as well. 6 window. Now, a few people ask me, what is this program? It's tradingview.com. TradingView is probably my favorite technical analysis software because they constantly improve it. I really like that about them. I think they're pretty good. I think also when they have sales, it's worthwhile. Just remember, one thing I'll tell you about TradingView is if you load an account and then kind of look like you're going away, you might get a better deal. If you know what I'm saying. So we've got here a few markets. This will be the screener that we use. I don't know where my Dow is. There it's going off the chart here. So we'll load up the Dow. Probably run, I'll let the community decide here what we run the bottom. So we'll run obviously US dollar, probably load Bitcoin as well, and gold, I think. Yeah, let's load Bitcoin here because we need Bitcoin for the result. I think it's going to potentially move. Don't use that one, I'll use this. There we go. Plan B for trade says very niche for cybersecurity. Yeah, no, I think there's some my rule of thumb in investment anyway compared to trading has always been, where's the government money? I just look at what the government policy is and just invest with government money. That's always been the way I look at things. If they're building lots of stuff, I invest for building lots of stuff. If they're giving lots of money away for green emissions or whatever, then you buy that. Just makes sense, yeah? That's why the money goes into those areas. I always say this, cut the crap out and just invest where the money is going from the government perspective. Now, if the government mandate you must secure files against hacking and you must do this and that and blah, 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 then that's the type of thing. I've noticed it happening here in Australia. Ethical funds were a big thing. Now, if you look at ethical funds, they've kind of taken a bit of a dive recently compared to where they were. Yeah, sometimes they say this, Gareth. If you read something once, you're not going to memorize it. You read it 10 times, you're going to memorize it. That's the way you do it. Always 10 times. You have to just keep pumping that information into your head, making the same mistake often the same times, but you keep doing it until you fix it up. Let's have a look at oil here. Oil hit 55, so it actually surpassed a little bit. 51 on US oil, so it's pretty much right on where we expected it. Made this discussion and kind of decision on oil a little while ago. This was 50 to 51 was always our target here, ever since down here in the 40s. I think that's been a really nice trade there. Nothing wrong with 40 into 50. You can't always have 100% Bitcoin kind of fiestas. But it should find resistance somewhere in this structure. So what for me now I do is I draw up like a little box. So I might draw, where's my little box? There's my box. Draw my rectangle in this area. And then I'll basically usually set an alert for around this zone and I'll start looking for price action. So I'll start looking for potentially a little double top. I'll start looking for lightning bolts towards the downside. I got no problem with shorting oil or buying oil or anything like that, but I always do this as a trade. And if I'm longing or wanting to hold an investment, obviously I'm looking more at the stock side of things for oil. Gareth says, I've been bad with study and I've still got another limited access course to finish by the end of April, but I wouldn't know anything if it wasn't for you guys. I appreciate that, Gareth. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that the problem with study and the problem with education is it depends how good it is. Yeah, it depends what that person's done. I can tell you I've traded really small money, I've traded bigger money, I've traded really large money. So there is actually risks when you get really large money. Like I haven't traded $1 billion. Okay, I'm not going to tell you I have. I traded tens of millions, more than that. So when you trade like a lot like that, you don't just go, hey, I want to put this $10 million in the market. You got to call like a DTR, talk to them about it, blah blah blah, get it done that way, because otherwise you're ruining some integrity. Now in America, you can just basically put it in as lines, but it won't come up as you just put like 1,000 units in or 100,000 units in. You'll put in little clips and little chips. Completely different. And when you're trying to fill really small orders, it's super hard. All right, let's go and have a look at some of these other pairs. So what else are we seeing here? There's a few people coming through with some requests. So let's just go through some requests here. Always interesting to do these. So I saw that someone wanted Crowdstrike. Have a quick look at Crowdstrike. It's always interesting to look at some of these stocks. Most of them are, usually if I'm getting asked about them, are in super bull runs. Crowdstrike looks like it's in a pretty super bull run. Again, not too many big pullbacks here. The pullback has been into the 20 when it's happened. 221. Wow, that's pretty wild. Go to the daily. Really all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say, okay, where's our market structure? So we've got huge market structure through the 155. It's pretty far away from that. We're getting nice pickup here. We have to go into the smaller time frames. Again, nice break through this resistance. That would have been probably a take for people that were bullish on the stock. Possibly now, if you look at the smaller time frame, little pullback into a 20 moving average here on the 1 hour. We've got resistance that acts as support, and of course pushes higher. Now, because it's already been here, let's say you go under, down, up, break a new high. Thing we can learn here, as soon as we break a new high, it is incredibly unlikely that this resistance will hold. And that's because of the nature of the pullback and the nature of the momentum. We had a triple resistance here. We've got the correct pullback. We've got a correct break. We've got the correct price action. But when it makes a new high here, remember it hasn't broken through this yet. It's statistically likely to smoke and just completely bust 230 when that happens. It won't stop here, usually. And that's because, again, all the things are pointing towards the momentum. Now, a novice trader will say, oh, I've got my resistance at 230. I'm going to take 230. But because of the way that this is structured out and the way it played out, it will bust this and it will bust the 230. Notice it stops just before the 230. That's the thing you learn about that. It just completely dominates that $10 increment. It's very similar to what happened with cryptocurrencies the other day. We had Bitcoin consolidating under 20,000. It consolidates, it whipsaws, it coils, and it just goes ballistic. What do I think of Airbnb? Crazy, Eggsy. I think it's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Anyway, actually, someone in the room, tell Eggsy what I think of this one. If someone will know. I have a rule with IPOs. If you take them and you want to make a quick dollar at a couple of 100% out of them quickly, then of course you can trade them in the first couple of days. But I have a bit of a rule when it comes to an IPO in America that's anything to do with technology, and that is I wait a couple of years. Generally, I wait around 18 months plus before I get into it. And again, if you go through Snap, you go through Facebook, you go through Twitter, you go through any of these new IPOs, they all come out crazy, and then they dump off after they get their earnings reports, and about 18 months to 2 years after, you get that pickup. That's my thoughts on this. Uber would be the same kind of thing. I mean, how is old Uber doing? So let's have a look here. So Uber obviously launched. You can see it had a nice little launch there, got absolutely destroyed, and then it's come back fairly hard. So this one here launched May 19. It fell off huge. Obviously, that was a disaster. This is because of the crisis, so we can't really blame Uber for going down, but it went down crazy. And then now it's at 55. I still think this is a risky kind of proposition for me. I don't really believe in it, so I couldn't invest in it. But from a trading perspective, there's no problems in trading something like this. Have we got a breakout close to a new high? Yep, but it happened right on the resistance, and you can see here 4.33%. So we've got that little bit of resistance there. Not a fan of this kind of stock, but here I'm a super fan. Oh, I'm a fan there. $38. Resistance. If it did happen, which it could at any point, there's a lot of buying pressure there. Not for me, this stock, but it doesn't mean you don't have to. You can do it. I just wouldn't do it. All right, I see you, Simone. I know you've asked for this stock. Was it Carvana? Ooh, has a fancy kind of name on it. Specialty retail trade stores. Okay. Whoa. 22. 270. My God. Wow. That's a return, isn't it? From down here, it's always better than Tesla. All right, so we've got nice weekly 20 holding it. So again, a weekly 20 touch would have been sweet here. Didn't quite do that. Let's go to the daily. At weekly though, 20 is beautiful. So slowing momentum. This is a great buy. I see why people were buying this zone. Resistances coming through here. 240 hit the 50 and then came up. Probably need to go small time frame here based on what I'm seeing. And yeah, there it is. So that's a nice breakout. I'd probably look for pullbacks down to this. You got a 1, 2, 3. It's potentially intraday trading opportunities there. That makes some kind of sense. I mean, obviously, got to make your own. This is only general, like we're just talking about levels and technical analysis and learning together. But this is the kind of level where now that you have that nice breakout, let's say it was earnings, whatever it was, I don't know what it was, then you get the pullback down here, and you got that 1, 2, 3 resistance, double moving averages on the 1 hour. There should be some little support there and hopefully buying pressure. That's pretty cool though. That's the way I break it down though, guys. I look for what's my investment opportunity, maybe set an alert, go from there. I'd love to know as well, guys, for this year, what do you want to see me focus on more for the live streams? Are you happy with the way they are now? I mean, obviously I'm going to get the old camera set up and everything. I think you guys would probably prefer that a little bit later on in the year. We'll probably have that set up around March. Definitely make it a bit more interactive, a bit more fun. But if you ever have ideas, certainly we'll hopefully put them in. I'd like to look at Coke. Let's check out Coke. All right. So Coke's obviously struggling. Whoa, look at that earnings report. Or whatever that was. That's nasty, isn't it? Let's get rid of these lines. Yeah, I quite like Coke here. Interesting. Obviously, the previous resistance, a lot of structure through that point. It's failed to do so. Probably want to look at a little bit of fundamentals here on this one as well. If you're going to buy a dip like this, generally what you'll see is you'll see something like this kind of happen. It might come back down, have a bounce, come back, respect it again. Double bottoming these kind of zones is quite common. Let's have a look what happened with Cisco as well. If we saw Cisco had some terrible earnings at a few points there. So this one didn't double bottom quite, but it did have that sell off into the what you would think would be in the great support, and then it has that terrible kind of second lunge. This is where a lot of institutions will get in. It's actually at this point here where it makes a new high. People get very confident in it here. And this is actually where you want to buy. Down here is risky. Up here becomes a much better proposition. You've seen momentum. You've seen everything. I like buying that kind of zone there, actually. The gap, I don't think that's going to fill. Obviously, some earnings. Nice movement up. But yeah, I like Coke. That looks good. I'd have to read the report on it, just so I know what the hell's going on. But cool level. How's our favorite going? Shouldn't be going too well. 212. Starting to come down. Still interested in it at 200 for McDonald's. I like these kind of stocks still. They're very good for high unemployment generally. Four downgrades from Coke, Dr. Horton says. Yes, there'll be quite a few downgrades going on there, I would say. But probably 50 is approaching that kind of fair zone. You can also use FinViz for this kind of stuff if you want to, but you'll notice a lot of these are out. I noticed when I came in here and I was having a look at all of these. So these are the downgrades. So here you got Jan 7th, downgrade 55. You can check this all out at finviz.com, by the way. Then you got Jan 6th, downgrade Deutsch. You got a few other ones, 55, 55. All these downgrades, though, they're still, the stock price is underneath the downgrades. So it's pretty funny they downgraded it. Buy to hold, buy to neutral, whatever. Really, this stock will come into its own if we believe that... I believe that in America, you're going to see, of course, these vaccinations roll out, and you are going to see, at maybe the end of 2021, Coke has good cash flow. It doesn't really matter. But you are going to see a point where people are going to go back out and enjoy life, yeah? And specifically in summer and stuff, I would assume sales are pretty good. So I think that when you start getting people back in the restaurants, that's when it's going to happen. I can tell you here in Melbourne, restaurants have been booked out. I tried to book some recently, and you couldn't even get into them after we came out of lockdown. Now, we were in incredible lockdown, but the point is that they were doing really well, the good ones. And Coke does rely on that a little bit. I like this website, though. You should check this out all the time. A few people saying here, what's this question about swing trading? Where is it? Are you a day trader, swing trader, or both and investing? Who says, I'm investing, swing trading, and a little bit of day trading. I prefer swing because I like a good lifestyle. Investing is obviously, what you do, I always treat it this way. If you make money in swing, I take that money and I put it into investments. If you make money in day trades, I do the same thing. I basically just invest and compound it out. So I'm a fan of compound investment. I'm also a fan of swing trading with technical analysis. I think it's the best and easiest for anyone's lifestyle. If you work, if you have no time, if you don't want to spend much time in front of the charts, swing trading, Swing trading's a beautiful thing. If you want to spend heaps of time around the charts, then do day trading. But if you're going to day trade, try to focus on 3 to 5 kind of instruments. Try to get expert at those types of things and then move on from that point. Don't do what, I'm doing across the board and covering everything. It'll take too long to get good at everything. Let's have a quick look at here at the Bitcoin movement coming into non-farms. We've got 12.11. Of course, we're all here to talk about these employment change, non-farm payrolls, etc., all happening very, very soon. Got 60,000, obviously the expected number here. and that's coming out in only 19 minutes time. Yeah, it absolutely can't be compared plan B, but what I'm saying is that it will benefit from when you get, some kind of solution. More so. Oh, someone asked me about wrestling. Oh, man, I got to go with WWF. Sorry, bro. I'm going to go with WWF. Back in the Attitude Era, it was awesome. Now, I'm too old. Too old to look at that stuff. But back then, I'm all in. Someone said here, Inho says, what would you recommend for compound investing? Well, obviously you got to make your own decisions on this. But basically, look, any quality stuff is good. I mean, by trade, I understand the idea of divestment and basically having like diversification. But you've got to also know, are you confident in that? You have to be very confident in holding something for an investment period. If you don't believe in it, don't invest in it. You have to believe in it. There are heaps of people in this room right now that believe in Bitcoin, or they believe in gold, or they believe in Tesla, or they believe in the stock they're in, Apple. I love Apple. I think Apple is a great company and they're just good. Yeah. So I believe in it. I don't care. I could hold it and take a 50% bath in it and still keep holding it. That's the way I look at investment. If you cannot hold it through a 50% decline, don't invest in it. That's pretty much the rule. Looking at gold, people are mentioning gold. Gold. Obviously falling a bit here into the news coming up. Let's have a look here on gold. Obviously a new low would be pretty big pressure here on gold. What's happening on my silver? Silver's not dropping as much. That iron ore plays worked out last year, didn't they? Jeez, that's been good. Oh, I'm not sure, Antonio, but I'll go with Joker. No, we didn't get no WCW. Well, you could. You'd have to pay for it, though. But I didn't have cable. I sometimes wonder if a lot of the best traders as well, sometimes we come from nothing or we come from less because you really appreciate the dollars. Like, think about Warren Buffett. Yeah, he loved the dollars. He was earning little dollars and doing all these crazy programs. I still always say this to people. I started a business card when I was 4 years old. I made a business card. I can't believe that. It was ridiculous, but that's what I did. Like, sometimes that's the kind of passion that takes to be a pretty good investor or trader. So we're coming in here to the market. We've got our kind of list going through here. We'll go to 1 hour on every one of these charts. Probably go down to 15 minutes on a few of them as well. So you can see a little bit of sell-off coming. Now, we go back over that SPX because I think that was probably the best analysis, or one of the best analysis we're doing for today so far. And that's been that we are opening at around that trend line high. So if we go to the daily, most important time frame, daily, weekly on the SPX, and we're going through this trend line here. So we're going through basically the last couple of peaks that have happened. Now, you'll know if you've been following my channel for a while, I'm not a big fan of the old trend line because you can curve fit them. So I use them more as approximate levels, yeah? But you've got this movement up here in the resistance. It's coming to it right now. And today is obviously the news day. So we've got this unemployment figures coming out here, non-farms, see what's going on there. Fear greed index as well. This is a good one just because it gets all this different data together. We've got extreme greed, of course, through price strength. You can see the price strength's crazy. Put call options again. Puts are starting to drop. Remember, the market will never drop, guys. It will never drop when we have high amounts of puts in the market. If the puts are high, don't go bear. That's pretty much the rule. Puts are high, never go bear. That's bad. Everything's really still pointing towards pretty decent greed. I don't think there's anything here that I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the catalyst right now. But yeah, we've got that trend line sitting on there. A few people mentioning gold still moving on the downward slope here. Yeah, it's starting to put pressure on this low. Bit unfortunate, obviously, for gold traders here if you're long. It's the weird thing about this year. I mean, this should have... I mean, it hit that 1960 perfectly, though. I mean, did we not say this was the zone we were targeting? I mean, I'm not sad where gold is, really, but I can feel that probably a few people are. But that's just the beautiful thing about TA. Check that out. Just absolutely just beautiful. Very, very happy with those positions that happened. I'm sure Warwick was as well. What do I think of pound US dollar? That's a good question. We haven't looked at too much currency tonight. So with the pound, it's in a steady kind of uptrend again here. With currency, it's a little bit different to what you're going to do on stocks, etc. You're really just looking for... you're not trying not to pay attention too much to the news at all in currency. Some people say, oh, do you do fundamentals on currency? No. You do not want to do fundamentals in currency. You will never be good. It'll be too tough. So you've obviously got great support here through the bodies and wicks coming off this 135.50. And you've got a series of lower peaks coming through as well. So if we go down to the 1 hour, probably 2 hour actually, got this trend line that I can see coming through here. So we're starting to trap this one. That's my thought process here on how I would draw up the pound right now. And I think that if you do get the break high, basically we want to see that broken out, come back down, retest, get the crosses of these moving averages, and then of course put pressure on the 136.50, get the pressure on, move higher 137, and then hopefully higher. That's the upside. The downside is any pressure on this, bust under, retest, bust down, back to the 134.30. I like this. It's all cool. That's the way I break it down though, guys. That's the general structure I'll be looking at here. Hopefully a few of you saw that. RF Tax says today's news will be S&P 500 drop when Tom leaves the room. That is true. When I close the stream, guys, 20 minutes later it drops. That is the known thing. I almost should make an emoticon about it. By the way, if you have an idea for some cool membership emoticons or whatever they are, emojis, I'm getting some custom ones made. So definitely chuck them in the room right now if you've got any cool ideas, and I'll write them down actually, because always good to get other people's opinions on them. If there's something you think I should chuck in as an emoticon, definitely send it through, or send it to thomas@fxevolution.com. I'll just chuck it in there right now. You can always message me here. Interested in your opinions. Yes, that's true. I prefer the larger time frames than the smaller ones, just to try to eliminate the risk. When you go down, so everyone starts in a 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute time frame, scalping, etc. It's the cool thing to do, yeah? The problem is it's not statistically likely as much. You'll have a lot more variance, and variance is what you try to... Variance hurts your psychology, and your psychology is so important, so you don't want to be doing that too much. But pound US dollar, that's what we're seeing there. I like 1 hour and above. Personally, I'm more of a swing trader, investor, so I'm big on the 4 hour, 8 hour, 2 hour, daily, weekly, those kind of time frames. I love those. Love those a lot. Way better statistically likelihoods there. All right, Kartik, I know a few people have been asking about Nifty. All right, we're going to do Nifty since you asked so much. Wow, this has been a good one for you, yeah? You've been in this for ages. So Nifty has just gone ballistic. I remember looking at this. We looked at it down here together, I think. Over here somewhere in live streams. So looking good. Nothing wrong with the Nifty if you've been in it. Obviously very, very, very bullish here. 20 came back, retested, found support. You would expect the same thing again. That's just the same learning that we use all the time. 20 again seemed to be holding up. When it got below the 20, that seemed to be the trigger of a little bit further sell-off. So I think I'd follow it by the 20 here on the daily, which would make sense to the 50 index. That's the kind of thing you want to be doing. Everything looks pretty bullish and good. Let's have a look at the monthly just to see where it is in comparison to overall. So very, very bullish. I'd want to look at probably the country in terms of the way that stimulus is going through. Now, from my understanding in India, the stimulus is You want to see where the tax breaks are hitting as well, just to see how long it can go for. But I'd be following it by the 20 with the 50 possibly as my kind of like, oh, I'm really now concerned about the level. 13.8 kind of resistance here is a decent pullback as well if it was to wick that through a 20. But yeah, it looks good, man. 14.5, maybe a psychological resistance. There's not much else you can do here. It's very difficult even to use an extension on something like this. You just got to follow that trend. Salesforce declining a little bit here. A few people coming in. We've got 8 minutes till non-farms, by the way, guys. 8 minutes. So we'll look at all of those things like the dollar index and stuff on the smaller time frames coming in. We'll do that in just a few moments. This is a break low. That's not looking too good. Obviously, they bought out Slack. Did so through shares and all sorts of things, I believe, or stocks. 190 resistance, probably. I mean, you could see a further decline here down to this level. I wouldn't mind it at these zones. It's 190. Possibly it's a decent pickup there. It's probably a stock I will look at in the future at around those levels. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But this is a decline, and you go through what's happened here. You've got a bit of market structure coming through. You've got this resistance becoming support. You got support resistance. I'll probably take that range. This is my range here. Then extrapolate that out. That probably should give me my 190. I take that range because you got the support, the resistance, the support, the resistance, the support, the gap below, the test, the new low. I'd like to see a new low underneath that. And once you get that, bang, straight through. Very cool. So 12:23, we've got 7 minutes. Let's get into that other one. Let's have a look here. Let's start loading up a few of these smaller time frames. We'll load up some 5 minutes just to have a bit of fun. So we've got Bitcoin on the right-hand side here. We're going to have a dollar index. Let's put that on the 5 minute as well. I'll zoom this out a little bit on the dollar index. Then we've got gold. Now, gold's getting most heavily affected here. Gold's coming down pretty hard. Probably have to use a 15-minute chart here. Can we? Yeah, I think we'll use a 15-minute chart here. Just so we can see that support underneath this zone. So we'll watch that coming in. Now we've also got Euro up here, SPX. So we'll just load up the US 500. So we've got a futures market trade. And then, of course, we've got the Dow over here. And I guess we'll go with silver, because silver should move fairly heavily. Load that up for 15 minute. Get it all going. Warwick says, any bets on a stop hunt on Bitcoin? Yeah, I would say we are fast approaching that. Now, if you get a 45K or just under 45K, very likely. Very likely there's that kind of movement. Thoughts on XRP? I liked it when it was in that kind of trading range. This is from Ralph. Just quickly load up XRP. So I liked it when it was in the trading range, but now it's had that kind of bounce up. Obviously, there's risks here, so I think that's kind of nice what it's done. That's probably I would have been pretty bullish on it down here. I'm not huge on it here because there are risks on this one more so than others. Probably look at other cryptos as well for breakouts. Probably altcoins are still, well, we saw the movement into altcoins about 2 weeks ago, but they're still interesting. 5 minutes away here. So here's the room. Here's a question for you guys. Which of these commodities is going to move the fastest? Gold, silver, Bitcoin, or dollar index? Give me your thoughts. Which one? I know which one I think is going to move the most in terms of just going to go a bit more ballistic. And it's based on current price action. So dollar index, gold, silver, or Bitcoin? What's going to move most into the non-farm news? Be interested to know your opinions on this. So we're only about 4 minutes away here. Doctor has Bitcoin moves the most into non-farm payrolls. All right. That's interesting. By the way, if you're new here and you haven't already, consider subscribing. We do these things all the time. Obviously, 2021 is just getting started. So we're going to do got Monday live next week. So join us, Monday live bell session. That's going to be an awesome one. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then, of course, we'll do pretty much every Monday after that. Do fib levels work as well on 5-minute timeframes as they do on daily? Yeah, they certainly do. Just more variance on 5 minutes. Depends how good your thing is. Okay, here come the questions. Here comes everyone. So dollar index, Bitcoin, gold, Bitcoin, silver, gold, BTC, and gold. So I'm going to go with gold, I think, based on this current trading range that we've got here. But BTC could be interesting. 3 minutes away from the news. So here we go. We've got FOREX factory up. It's going to be a little bit delayed. We should see our little crappy green arrows. They haven't changed since the GFC. This looks the exact same as it did in the GFC. I remember clicking these buttons back then. Look at that little refresh circle. It's almost nostalgic. Anyway, we've got that going on. So I'll load this up onto my other screen. I'll bring that over so I can see the result. Obviously, we want to see the price action as well coming through here. The expectation is 60,000 for the non-farm change here. Let's see what goes on, guys. BTC and gold. So a little bit of money came into gold there. So a drop, $3, came back up. That's $3. Dollar index coming under some pressure. Load a 15-minute here just so we can see that key resistance. Because obviously we know there's that key resistance through this 90 bracket. Let's just put that 90 horizontal line up. I want to see how it goes there. 90. Now, it could be a much ado about nothing with non-farms. Sometimes it's crazy, sometimes it's not. Got our 90 line up. 2 minutes to go here. Dividend Passive Journey says, bad news or good news, Bitcoin will only go up. Yeah. Plan B for trade says, NFP below expectation, bullish. NFP in line, bullish. NFP above expectations, bullish. I didn't know that, Suye. Yeah, we'll definitely check out. I mean, TradeStation's more of a US kind of share trading platform. So we've got some gold movement in here. 12.29. So some money starting to flow through, possibly a little bit early. Releases here. What's going on? Let me load these up. All right, so 12.29. So we're basically only 20 seconds away here on the stream. Hopefully you guys get this one through. Remember, we're just using forexfactory.com to get these up. It's a good little website for economic calendars. So here it comes. 7 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Technically, it should be out. All right, gold's moving up hard and then dropped. Typical of the non-farm payrolls. Interpreting the results straight away here. Got dollar index moving down a little bit. Up here, we've got the S&P. Came under a couple of points. Negative 140. So Siddharth called it. I believe it was Siddharth. A few others. Negative 140K. So, by the statistics, Bitcoin up. That's what we heard before, yeah? It doesn't matter, Bitcoin up. All right, so we've got gold here moving on down a little bit. Obviously an interpretation of what those 140 negative results mean. Let's have a look at what the employment percentage is here. When the hell will that thing update? Market is coming under pressure. So it's interesting, it's coming off that trend line and it's coming under pressure straight away. So when the market opens, will this be bearish to the market, or does the market not really care now that we have potential chance of way more stimulus? So unemployment rates, actually employment rate change in CAD is also bad. So we'll bring that on here. Got negative 62.6, expectation obviously negative 32. All right, we'll see what happens there. Yeah, so basically it looks like we're getting a little bit of strengthening. Now, with non-farm payrolls, obviously it can be like this where it moves only, a couple of dollars initially, but then often there's this like trend that starts through after the result. Now, it can take a little while, and in my experience with non-farms, you basically get about 60 to 70% of them that do nothing, and then when they go hard, they go really hard, and you obviously get that really big movement through after the session. It's often not the initial couple of minutes. It's different to other news. When the initial couple of minutes come out, usually you go bang and it goes off and it goes into the direction. Non-farms takes a while to be interpreted. So we'll see how that one comes through. Everyone's like, yep, market doesn't care, etc. So there's the kind of result that we expected. It's a little bit worse. I mean, negative 140, obviously, usually would not be good. But in the market, how it is right now, no one seems to care. Probably, I would say, should put downward pressure on the market, but just because it's hit that technical resistance trend line that we were talking about before, we'll have to see how that works out. We're still even above that in futures. If you look there, the US 500 futures were trading quite a lot higher. All right. Sam says, poor farmers don't get counted anymore. Yes. Peter Schiff is only one buying all the gold. Absolutely. So let's have a look around these futures markets. Let's quickly refresh these. They probably won't be fully updated yet. Probably be a bit behind. Usually this thing's quite behind, unfortunately. Forex, we had there the movements that were going through. Crypto across the board, still very, very green. Put call ratios, just to know where they are, 0.677. So we always know that whenever it gets down to the 0.6 kind of flat, that we're looking at some potential bearish intentions on the market if it hasn't already shown itself. Remember, if a put call ratio is up here above 1, it's very hard for the market to crash. Very hard up here, very easy down here. Basically the general rule of thumb there. So yeah, interesting number coming out there in terms of the news. Bitcoin still continuing to go up. What's doing to the currencies? We've got here the pound has declined a little bit. We had that little bit trapped here on the 2-hour time frame. Still one to watch, I think. Would be worthwhile checking out. Euro. That's just a pretty nice little bullish hammer there on the 2-hour, isn't it? That's another thing that's important to note about bullish hammers and everything. If you're on a 2-hour or 4-hour or something and you might see a bullish hammer or a shooting star, it's not about the candle itself. It's about where it's coming off and what does that wick or rejection mean in terms of momentum in the market. That's what you want to be thinking about. Momentum, and you want to think about the buyers and the sellers and the control of those levels. That's the key thing that we always want to be doing. US dollar yen, putting pressure on kind of that resistance, struggling through it on the 4-hour as well. Take a look at this. If we have a look here at the daily, check out this trend line that's basically been in play for ages. You go through this trend. Holy moly, has this US dollar yen been here for a long time. Look at this. Ridiculous. It's not even up there yet. But it comes up, sells off, comes up, sells off. It's crazy, that US dollar yen. Very much so a trend line that I'm looking at. All right, we'll take some more questions from the room here. Thanks to everyone that's new and joining us, by the way. We're at 426 people viewing right now, so thank you very much for that. If you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. We do this every Monday generally, other than, of course, over the Christmas period. $51.58 on oil. So just really in that red zone that we were talking about before. Dr. Horton says, Tom, really enjoying CoinFin, really helpful for plotting short-term price action versus other tickers and being able to easily get different stats. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Good work, Tony. Oil, I think, this US oil should be hitting around this resistance kind of line right now. That's true. So a few people mentioning this is the first decline in NFP we've seen in quite a long time. Yeah, so have a look at this. This is our, this is a kind of good thing to do. So you can actually see the forecasts and the actuals. So we had that, of course, massive decline. Then we were followed by a huge difference here in terms of increase, slight increases since then. And of course, now I've got our first decrease actually. Jan 2021, possibly reality. Remember, the market does do its own thing and it's got stimulus, but ultimately we need people to earn money so that they can buy crap. We do need that. And that's why I said before about 2021. My expectation for 2021, another wild year, possibly a super bubble, but at some point, and it will be like when we have rollouts on vaccines and all that type of stuff, the reality will bite when we least expect it. And everyone will go, well, why didn't it happen before? And then everyone's like, well, I don't know. When do you think Tesla will drop? I don't know. I don't know when it drops, man. All we can do is we follow the trend. We find the reoccurring event that happens, which is something like this 50 exponential holding Tesla up on the daily. And until it gets underneath that zone, you don't know that it's truly in a declining market. Nah, it's not a bot, Johnny. It's actually Dave. Yeah, we'll do some analysis on gold. We'll just have a quick look here. So we've got the 1880, the pressure coming back onto this one here after that non-farms result. If we go down to the 5 minute, we can see here where the pressure was and where it's coming in. We did this before. Basically, I said that, this is technically where you need the bulls to start controlling gold. They have to control it here. You got a lot of body closes around this zone. If you were to draw like a range or a rectangular box towards the market structure, it would be in this level. You've got daily 20, daily 50, all of these things that we looked at before, all in the right zone. Even a pullback probably of a fib. Well, we didn't even do that before. Let's put a fib on the whole move up. So fib of the whole move up, we're getting into that 38 to 50 fib territory. I like that territory. So market structure, territory, but for a buying kind of level, you don't want to catch the falling knife. So if you're not in it, what you need to do now is you need to wait for little double bottoms around this level on the smaller time frames, lightning bolts on the smaller time frames. These types of things around this level. That's the key. All right, guys. Well, I think pretty much for me, that's probably going to call it a night. It's 12:40 over here in Australia. Obviously, been streaming for about an hour and 40, and I thank everybody that's come out. Obviously, 420 plus people right now. It's awesome to be back in 2021 and getting numbers like this. Just at the same time, Siddharth's donated $2. He's given me a Superman flag, so thank you very much for that. Or Super Bird flag, I guess. But yeah, we will be back on Monday next week, live streaming, 11 o'clock. That will go all the way into the bell. So I'll keep going all the way through. But I will try to annoy, of course. I just want to look after myself and do the weekend this one. I want to have a decent weekend, so I'm not going to stay up till like 3 a.m. in the morning. But next Monday, we will be live again on the channel. I'll be making videos throughout the weekend. Obviously, Sunday, we'll have our normal kind of weekly analysis. We'll see what this non-farms does to the markets and how it works. As we all know, no, don't go down silver. We don't want that. No, it's all good. So we need to obviously look at this market, see what happens, see how it reacts tomorrow and reacts to this news overall. Whether it holds this trend line, starts to short off during the session. Usually it shorts after we finish up, doesn't it, guys? And then, of course, we'll come back and do some analysis on it. But for now, Bitcoin looks pretty strong. As we did our analysis, just to recap, $5,000 increments on Bitcoin seem to be the resistance kind of strikes. We had 30. We obviously had 35, some resistance and a sell-off back into 30 buys. Then we had pull up here up to 40, little bit of sell-off on 40, but barely. And then it's gone through 40 now. So possibly now to the 45,000 kind of trend line. I will just say this to everybody. Check out this. It's pretty big kind of news, I think, and it's just worthwhile considering. These are all of the Lunar New Years throughout the last couple of years. And you'll notice here, there's generally a decline coming into the event in Bitcoin. So this is what happens. We have Lunar New Year, 8th of Feb. This year, it's 12th. Look at the 16th. The 16th, it started selling off about the 8th of Jan. So between the 8th of Jan and kind of that 15th, 16th, you usually can expect it. 8th of Feb, the sell-off started really heavily around that 12th. So if you're going to be wary on Bitcoin, it seems to be that it's going to be in this next week. Because 12th of Feb, you're basically pointing to the next week to week and a half that Bitcoin should decline based on those kind of stats. It's been pretty consistent too. Usually a pickup after and a flatlining into the event. Look at the flatlining into the event. Welcome very much. Thank you very much, Simao, or Simo. Thank you for joining the trading community. As I mentioned, we're getting some new emoticons and emotions and all those types of things. So definitely a whole bunch of custom stuff coming into the channel. And look, I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next Monday and through the videos. So thanks very much, guys. Bye for now, and good luck trading the markets. Definitely go back and watch that first. I think it's like 25 or 30 minutes into the stream. We talk about that stop hunt. I would highly suggest that it would be a worthwhile thing to look at. I think it was on the Euro Yen. It's a very good little bit or little tip that I've learned over the years. All right, guys. See you soon. Bye for now.